right, guys, welcome back to episode 8 of Voice of the Broken. I am under the weather. I have been sick since I got back from Vegas. This is the first time in almost 3 days where I haven't felt like complete dog shit. So I wanted to sit down and get an episode done so that I'm at least on par with where I need to be, even though I feel like I'm getting behind on content. So with that being said, I'm going to just jump right into this. I don't have trigger warnings from the wizards at this point on this email specifically. So with that being said, just know that all of these emails, are normally very heavy with unaliving yourselves. And if that's something that you struggle to read or hear about, you should probably skip this. As for anything else that's in here, I have no idea because I haven't read the email yet. So with that being said, I'm going to just jump right into this. I apologize about my voice and even my appearance, really. I feel like dog crap. I want to start by saying thank you. My name is, I'm not going to say his name. And I'm a 31-year-old male. I'm a truck driver, and I spend all day in a truck alone. I live in Central Kansas. I have seen you and your wife's content on TikTok for some time now, and recently I found your Voice of the Broken podcast. I listened to a few episodes that you have on there, and I can honestly say that it has changed my life. Saved my life. I am the youngest of 4 with 2 half-brothers and a half-sister. Growing up, I was always bigger than my siblings, and being the youngest, I was always picked on, left out, and I was never fast. I was never as fast as my siblings and couldn't keep up, so they didn't want anything to do with me. My dad worked nights to provide for a family of 6, so he wasn't available very often. I'm going to come back to that. My mother was not much of a mother. She was there, but always more worried about my siblings, her children from a previous relationship, or her own thing. So she wasn't actually your mother then. Anyways, you said that my dad worked nights to provide for a family of 6, so he wasn't available most of the time, very often. I want to touch on that for a second because that's the burden of men. It is our duty to protect, provide, and lead, and sometimes that provision means that we're not home the way that we should be. And I'm not saying that this is an acceptable thing. I'm saying that this is definitely a problem, especially when children grow up not knowing their parents. And we love our families and we want to provide for them and we want to make sure that they have everything that we can afford to give them. Therefore, we put ourselves in shitty situations and we miss things. We miss holidays, we miss birthdays, we miss baseball games or whatever it is that's going on because you working night shift, you sleep during the day, you pretty much miss your entire childhood, your children's childhood as they grow. This is a problem for me. I don't want to be that person that's there but not present. I try to be very interactive with the kids. I'm a bonus dad for those of you who don't know, to a 5 and a 6-year-old. So I am, teaching them to ride 4-wheelers and shoot BB guns and do all the cool shit that kids are doing. But I make it a point to be present in their lives, even though we have the podcast and we've got everything going on. When they want my attention, I give it to them. And I think that in doing that, that's going to be what is going to raise young men and women into good functioning adults. Staring at your screen, ignoring your kids is a problem. Okay. She didn't know how to not waste money, so my dad always had to work as much as he could to keep a roof over our head. This is why he should have handled the finances. We seemed to move every few years to a different town, so I could never truly make friends because it was just a matter of time before we moved. You could have made friends. A couple of years, you absolutely could have made friends. Even if you got one school year at a school, you could have made friends. I do understand what you're getting at, though. The idea of making friends only to have to move away from them is a shitty thing. I also think that creates a level of independence in people because you learn to not depend on people. And with having a dad who's not present and a mom who does her own thing, not having friends, I would imagine that this makes you a very independent, isolated person. It was just a matter of time before we moved. My sister would jump back and forth between her father and us every time she didn't get her way, which was almost every 6 months like clockwork. My brothers never truly knew who their father was and never seemed to care about anything. I spent most of my time growing up alone and wanting someone to be around, mostly just wanting my dad, but unable to spend time with him. That sucks to read. The manipulation of your sister going back and forth between homes is something that a lot of kids do when they realize that they can manipulate a parent and get their way. When the parent realizes that it's happening, they put a stop to it. They don't want to be there anymore because kids want to be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do. So that's a very normal thing as well. I am curious what you think your life would look like if your dad had been present in the home. Do you think that you would have had the level of independence that I believe that you have? Do you think that you would have a different understanding of what relationships look like, or would you have become very codependent on him because you didn't have friends outside of, your home? Just a thought. I don't remember too much from before second grade, but I do remember the farmhouse, which was where we lived with 80 acres. This was good for me because I was able to explore even when nobody wanted to be around me. We lived in this home for a while till one night my dad was at work and my sister was at her dad's. The house caught fire. Still to this day, I don't know the truth about the fire because my mother's story doesn't add up to the memory. That night is permanently planted in my memory because I woke up to one of my brothers choking on smoke, the stairs in flames, and the three of us had to jump out of the second story window. Once on the ground, we found my mother loading her dogs in the car and did not seem to be worried about us until she saw us outside. Bro, you just insinuated that you think your mom tried to kill you. She took her dogs and left you guys in a burning building. That's fucked up, man. People are fucked up. In third grade, we moved to a little town where I finally made a couple friends. One who is now like my brother and lives next door. Things seemed to get better now that I had a couple friends that I could hang out with, but I always felt out of place at home. This is also where I was during 9/11. I can still remember standing in line in the lunchroom and seeing it on the TV. We stayed in this town, 2 different houses, till I finished 5th grade, and then we moved again. I think everyone who is old enough to understand what happened on 9/11 remembers that day vividly. Like vividly. I remember watching it on TV, remember thinking we were about to go to war. I remember the president's fucking interaction because he was in my city at that point. There's a whole lot. All right. We stayed in this town, 2 different houses till I finished 5th grade, and then we moved again. 6th grade, a new town, a new school, no friends. After a couple months of playing football in the new town, I made a new friend. Since I never felt wanted at home, I would spend all the time I was allowed at my friend's house. Mostly weekends when his parents would allow because we both lived outside of town. In the winter of my 6th grade year, we moved to another house in town where we were allowed to join the church group on Wednesday nights. It was fun. There was music and games and other people. This group would pick us up at the pizza place on Main around 5 or 6 p.m. and then drop us at the park around 8. This ended up leading to my parents' divorce that summer due to my dad yelling at one of my brothers for not coming straight home. Okay, I feel like there's a lot more to that story than just that, but we'll move on. After my parents split up, I felt abandoned by the only person that seemed to love me, which caused me to want nothing to do with my dad for a couple months till I found out that wasn't the truth. In those couple months, I lived with my mother, who would refuse to work, sleep all day, and run off for weeks, leaving my 2 brothers and me at home with nothing. When she would come back, there would be some new man with her that always tried to play father and was always mean. As summer came to an end, I realized my dad didn't abandon me and that my brother kicked him out, and I started talking to him again, and we ended up moving in with him at my grandma's. I've experienced the mom disappearing for weeks at a time. I know what that feels like. I don't have anything to really add to this right now. I'm hoping that there will be something that I can really comment on. But right now, I am kind of hung up on the fact that you believe your mom tried to kill you and your 2 brothers. And I don't believe that the divorce happened just because your dad screamed at your brother. There's obviously a whole lot more to that, but as a young man, I can see how you would think that. I also think that it's super important for kids to be put into sports, especially boys. Jiu-jitsu, any type of physical activity, wrestling, football. I think that not only do we learn a sense of accomplishment by winning, and that leads into adulthood, I don't believe in participation trophies. I think that if you lose, you should have to suffer that loss to make you want to learn to grow and be better. But I also think that there's a camaraderie and a brotherhood that comes into all of that, and it teaches teamwork and joint effort and how to communicate. There's a whole lot that goes into sports. I can't believe that people are okay with their kids just sitting inside all the time. All right. 7th grade started a new school, new/old town, and again, no friends. By this time, I had developed anger issues, had become a mean and very angry kid, so I took it out on the football field. Good. It's one of the few times it's acceptable to like fucking try to knock somebody's head off. This school was a different level than I was used to, though, because there was 7th through 12th grade in the same school. Since I was always a big kid and a lot of anger, I was always trying to hurt someone on the field, even in practice. Sadly, football season came to an abrupt end when I hurt my back in practice due to a teammate stomping on my back. If you were purposely trying to hurt people, you kind of got what was coming to you. I also think that around 7th grade is a good time to get your kids into lifting weights. Shortly after that, my dad and I moved to another town in November and out of my grandma's house. My dad still worked nights, and since he couldn't afford to pay someone to watch me at night, and felt I was still too young to spend my nights alone, he would drive me to my mother's every night and pick me up every morning. At this time, I did not care for my mother and did not really get along with my siblings anymore because they always made fun of my size since I was a lot bigger than them in height and in weight. Kids are so fucking cruel, man. I hope that, I hope that as an adult you understand that being big is a blessing. Not like morbidly obese big, but being a large man is a blessing. I can take my hand and lay down with my hand on her hip when I'm not feeling well or when I'm hot, and I don't have to have her lay on me to let her know that she's safe. My giant lunchbox of a fucking hand on her hip is enough to let her know that I've got her, and it comes from my size. There's a lot that can be looked at in that scenario that you could absolutely turn into a positive if you really think about it, but I digress. Because I did not like being there, I would spend my nights out walking around town trying to stay away from the house till just before my dad got there to pick me up. This caused me to sleep in school and get in trouble. In high school, I was always drinking and getting high, even at school, and would spend my days after school hanging out with those I thought to be friends and doing any drug I could get my hands on and drinking nonstop. Since most of my friends were older, it was not an issue for me to find alcohol. I was also fighting a lot at school, but would always be able to claim self-defense, so I never got in trouble for fighting and somehow managed to graduate high school on time. Well, congrats on graduating high school. I did not. After high school, I tried college, but it wasn't for me. I spent most of my early adult life drinking, getting high, and jumping from job to job. It sounds like most young men, unfortunately. And that's a fucking problem for me. I'm going to come back to that. Throughout high school and early adult life, I had few relationships, but they all seemed to end the same way. Me getting used, treated like I'm only good enough for them to say they have a boyfriend, and getting cheated on by every woman I have ever been with. I'm going to come back to this job to job thing. Spent most of my early adult life drinking, getting high, and jumping from job to job. If you were in your 18 to 25 range, this is the time that everybody thinks that it's okay to go out and get fucked up and like start living that party bachelor life and like get your own place and throw parties and be that guy. And I disagree with that. The things that I know in life now, had I applied it earlier on in my life, would have put me so much further along than I currently am. So in a situation like this, if I was speaking to a young 18 to 25-year-old me, the conversation that I would have would be to stop drinking. Don't do drugs. This is not about being straight edge or right or wrong, but you are focusing the energy and efforts of your life into the wrong things. Yes, it can be fun to get drunk from time to time. Yes, it can be fun to hallucinate or do a drug or whatever it is that you're doing, but the energy that you're putting into those things is going to slow down your progress in other facets of your life. And if you are living to get high or living to just exist in the moment, your later life is going to suffer because of it. And I wish that I could have had somebody explain it to me as simple as this. If you suffer now, you won't have to when you're older. And it would be cool to like live 18 to 25 during that 7 years and really live your life and have fun and be fucked up. But if you can live from 40 to 80 or 90 or 100 and do whatever the fuck you want to do, that time span is a whole lot greater. And it really just comes down to buckling down, figuring your shit out, start making plans of attack, and then going after it. I apologize if you guys hear the mucus. I'm trying really hard not to like snort and shit. So, all right. My siblings have not had anything to do with me outside of my family events, which I have stopped attending for some time, and I do not talk to my mother because all she cares about is herself. A pause there. Good. Fuck them. This comes in to protect your peace, dude. If you have toxic family members, you don't owe them anything. They share your DNA. That's super cool, but that's the extent of that. Just because someone shares DNA with you does not mean that you fucking owe them anything. If you have shitty people in your life that are related to you, you should not accept behavior from them any different than people outside of your relatives just because you share DNA. If you have a friend who talks down to you and belittles you and you write them off, but your brother or sister or cousin can do it and you tolerate it, that's a fucking problem. When you guys really truly learn to value yourself and you understand what self-worth truly looks like, you stop tolerating a whole lot of bullshit and you really focus on doing the things that make you happy. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to do that for you. People don't care about your happiness the way you should be caring about your happiness. So, moving on. My relationship with my dad has been rough over the years with a lot of arguing and fighting, but has never come to a physical fight. Our relationship now is probably the best it has ever been, but I still feel out of place, like a burden when I'm around him and his new family. Have you tried to like interject yourself into that new family? Because if he's got a new family and he's doing the dad thing there, you're still his son. You can go there and make an effort to not be that. And you could be the fun uncle that comes around and like you're a football guy. You can go out there and teach one of the kids how to play football or freeze tag or whatever it is so that you can feel like you're a part of them. It doesn't, I don't know your situation. Obviously, I'm only reading what you've sent. I'm getting a pinprick of your life through this email. But I think that if you want a relationship with the people in your life, you have to work for that relationship. Just because you want it doesn't mean you're going to get it. It takes work and it takes effort. And it takes self-worth. If you feel like a burden around him and his family, I would really deep dive that and try to figure out why you feel like you're a burden to them, and then figure out what you can do to start taking steps to fix it. I also want to touch on the fact that my relationship with my dad has been rough over the years with a lot of arguing and fighting, but has never come to a physical fight. I think that every young man at some point looks at his dad and goes, I think I can take you. You're normally fucking wrong. You were normally wrong, but all of us have gone through that. And we always wonder, like, is it time for the changing of the guard? Like, do I have to put Pops in his place to be the fucking head of the family kind of thing? Which is why I laughed at that, because I believe that that's normal. That's nature. At some point, the alpha is not going to be the alpha anymore, and some young buck is going to have to come up and step in. And I think that that's in our DNA. I truly believe that. And it's funny to me. So my dad found his now fiance a few years ago. Excuse me. And she has 2 young kids. They always like me being around, which is nice. But I feel out of place because they come from money and live in a big house in a fancy neighborhood. So I always feel like I don't belong. That I understand. I got money now and I don't feel right in big neighborhoods. Rich neighborhoods still stress me out. I find myself looking over my shoulder more in rich neighborhoods than I do when I'm in bad ones because I'm more comfortable there. With that being said, though, she has 2 young kids and they like me being around. You're not a burden, dude. You need to be around and like have that family that you didn't have when you were a kid. You have the opportunity to have that. You can be the fun uncle. Dude, I don't know. I really, really fucking think that you're missing an opportunity there. Sometimes you need to look in the mirror and let that shit go. Sometimes you have to be like, this is a fucking me problem and let that shit go. In 2017, I bought my first house at 25 years old. House. I don't know why everything is in parentheses, but at 25 years old, it was only an old two bedroom, 1 bathroom trailer, but it was mine. Is that why you put house? Because it was a trailer? Who gives a fuck? Good for you, bro. You know how many people at 25 years old don't own their own house? Like, and I don't give a shit that it's a trailer. I've lived in a trailer. Who fucking cares? It's yours, bro. And in reading that house, only to find out that it was a trailer, you're downplaying your accomplishment. This is your self-worth speaking, bro. This is your self-worth and you going, well, you know, I had a house, but it wasn't really a house. Like, no, you fucking did. You had your own place and it was yours. That's as far as that needs to go. And if people are like, oh, well, what was it? And you're like, it's a trailer. And like, oh, you didn't have a house. You had a trailer. Those aren't the people you want around you. It's simple as that. Don't let people fucking destroy that inner worth. I am so sorry. I know that one came through the mic. To celebrate, I invited a few friends I had over for a housewarming party / birthday party since it was going to be my birthday. And that morning, everyone canceled or just didn't show up. This was my low. I spent the rest of my day drinking all of the booze I bought for the party, laying in bed, trying to watch movies or shows, all while staring at a bottle of pills. Finally, around 7 p.m., I decided that I was done. This is alcohol. I wanted to cancel my subscription on Life, and I was going to take the whole bottle and just go to sleep. All I had to do was sit up on my bed, reach over to my dresser, and open the bottle. Still to this day, I don't know how or why, but no matter how hard I tried, I could not physically move to reach the pills. I tried with everything I had, but couldn't move. I screamed in my head, and I just wanted to end it all. I couldn't take it anymore, but nothing helped. After about 30 minutes of trying everything to get up and crying my eyes out, I gave up. I laid there, staring at the bottle, wishing I could get up. Maybe an hour or so went by and I gave up on the pills, and for some reason decided to go to my dad's. I got up, got dressed, hopped in my truck, and drove 35 miles to my dad, all while hoping that I would hit a tree, but somehow made it. I gave him a hug and laid down on his couch and I went to sleep. 1, don't drink and drive. That is one of those things that like I will never condone. I think that people who do that shit is selfish and like you could kill people who don't deserve that. I have a huge fucking problem with that. So do not drink and drive, guys. I want to touch on this taking pills while drinking thing. This is a fantasy for a lot of people because we see it in movies. The reality is, yes, you can overdose from pills and alcohol, or your body can go into convulsions and you can puke all this shit up. And then you're going to be fucking miserable in a hospital bed. That's just a problem for me. I can't even really tell you why that's a problem for me. Probably because I have overdosed on pills while drinking and woke up covered in my own vomit. And that was my cue that I need to stop drinking and doing drugs. But that morning that I woke up and everything was crusted to me, had I not rolled over on my side, I would have choked to death. That's scary as fuck. Like the idea of not being able to breathe freaks me the fuck out. Well, maybe that's just a me thing. I don't know. That's a lot. I gave him a hug. I laid down on his couch and I went to sleep. The next day I went about my life like nothing happened. I quit drinking, buried myself in work, and suffered in silence. I stopped trying to do things with anyone. I went to work, I went home, and I just went through the motions. I really wish you would have talked to your dad and told him what you were going through. I understand that you gave him a hug and you laid down and went to sleep and like you had a comfort there. But I'm willing to bet that your dad would have been able to listen to you and like maybe give you some advice. If this was my son, I would want him to tell me what's going on. I wouldn't want him to just show up drunk and give me a hug and go to sleep on the couch. Like if he was at that point in his life, I would want to know about it. Not even for an intervention, because I don't think that would have been helpful. I would have liked to have known what was going on, because this depression came from nobody coming to your birthday party. Like people are scumbags, bro. Like people are going to do what's best for them. And like, you can't expect people to show up every time you want them to. And I don't know, man. Your dad might have come to your birthday, right? Like if you had real friends, like true friends that weren't there just to get fucked up, they would have shown up for you. I'm very curious to see what that conversation with your dad would have looked like. I'm now curious how my conversation with my son will go if something like this ever happens. I don't want to say when, but if something ever like this did happen, I hope that I'm able to instill enough in my son in terms of self-worth to not rely on the external validation of others for his own self-worth. If he does something and succeeds, I want him to be able to celebrate his victory and be proud of himself regardless of what others around him thinks, says, or does. And I think that that's something that's lacking in men, and it's a problem for a lot of fucking people because we rely on that validation. We rely on that validation from other people to know that we did a good job. Instead of just going, I fucking did that thing. Like, I'm proud of me, and being proud of me should be more like should hold more water than somebody else being proud of me. Yet we chase that. I am the type of person that when I'm watching a movie or a TV show or even a commercial and there's like the good dad who's like, I'm fucking proud of you, son. I break down like a fucking child and sob every fucking time. I can't help it because that's what I wanted my whole life, was somebody that I loved and cared about, that I admired, to tell me that they were proud of me. And when I accomplished my first business and like it started making money and I was doing the thing, I made a comment to the people that I admired and looked up to about how I was proud of me. And that was the first time that I had ever heard that somebody else was proud of me. And it didn't matter anymore. Like at that point, the opportunity for them to give me that external validation had long passed. I wanted that validation when I started talking to them about taking steps to open the business, because I'm breaking old habits and establishing new routines, and I'm trying to do something with my life. So by the time they mirrored my sentiment back to me, it didn't fucking matter. It was empty as shit. But I'm now able to take my victories and acknowledge that I did that. So, about a year later, I got back with an ex that had cheated on me. I don't know why I thought it would have been any different, but I did. At this point, I was driving a truck over the road again, so I was gone for a month and would come home for a few days. I let her and her 2 kids move in with me, and everything seemed great the first couple times I came home. She even went out on the road with me for a month, and it was great. After she got home from the month on the road, things seemed different when I left again. She then started using drugs in my house, having parties, and cheating on me. When I found this out, I broke things off and told her to get out. That whole month, I got messages about her not having anywhere to go and that she and her kids would be homeless, and I got tired of it. When I got back home, I contacted the trailer park owners and sold them my house just so I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. I took what few things I could fit in my truck bed and went to my dad's. Fuck that. Fuck that. She should have thought about the consequences of her actions before she started doing that shit. And those text messages and phone calls talking about, I don't have nowhere to go with my kids. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. You should have thought about that before you fucking did me dirty. You need to beat feet. Get the fuck out of my house. Yeah. And I know that that's not the kids' faults. And that would have been hard for the kids. And I understand that. That's not my problem anymore. I would have made her leave. I wouldn't have sold her my house. And if she was able to buy your house, then why wasn't she able to just go get a place of her own? Because to buy a home is a whole lot more expensive than to rent a place. Since I was driving a truck, I couldn't get high anymore. And I had been around a year sober, but I started drinking again. Not as bad as I used to be, but enough to take the edge off. When I was home, I would sleep on my dad's couch and I would spend my days doing nothing but drinking and watching TV and would be constantly depressed. Alcohol is a depressant, bro. If any of you deal with depression, the last thing that you should be doing is fucking drinking. If you need an outlet, go to the gym. I fucking mean that. Go to the gym. I don't care if you don't know how to lift. I don't care if you're intimidated by the other fucking gym bros that are there. Everyone who is fucking massive and strong and cut and in shape started somewhere. Nobody just naturally has that physique. It's a whole lot of work. Go to the fucking gym. Find a community in that gym. If you go in there every day and see the same people, spark up a conversation with one of them. I hate it when people do that shit. But if somebody saw me in the gym every day and they were like, hey man, I've noticed you've really made changes in your physique over the last 3 months. Do you have any advice for me? Yeah, I got all kinds of advice for you, bro. Have a seat. We're going to have a conversation. I'll unload all that shit. We'll have a 3-hour conversation about macronutrients. Like, I'm about that life because I want to see other people succeed. And that's most gym bros. You're going to get a dopamine response. You're going to see changes in your physique. You're then going to start feeling better about yourself, which is going to increase your self-worth. It's going to increase your sex drive. It's going to make you feel like a fucking whole new man. Highly recommend that shit. Also, for those of you who deal with depression, get your hormones checked. Go to matrixhormones.com, fill out the new patient form, click on the drop-down menu, and select To Be Better. It'll save you $200 on your initial consultation. I am a patient of Matrix. They've been working with me for over a year. My testosterone levels and my estrogen levels are fucking perfect. They have been monitoring my red blood cells because my blood is thick like ketchup and I have to do blood dumps all the time. Peaches had a health scare. We know somebody who was diagnosed with cancer because their white blood cells were super high when they got a blood test done. At the very worst case scenario, you're going to waste a little bit of money getting blood work done to be told that everything is great. Worst case scenario, you're going to have to get something done because you know what's going on in your blood. But that's even, I think, a best case scenario because I'd rather know than not. Shameless plug for Matrix. All right. I'm actually so I got back from Vegas on Tuesday at like 10 o'clock. Peaches and I got home. I unpacked, went to bed, woke up the next morning feeling like utter dog shit. And this is the first time I've had a fever in probably 5 years since I had COVID. I haven't had a fever. And boy, let me tell you, getting sick, it knocks your dick in the dirt. When you're not used to having a fever or getting sick like that sucks. I can deal with mucus. I can deal with aches and pains. Fever, big fucking baby. Can't handle that shit at all. But one of my things that I'm going hard is I'm getting back into weightlifting. My chest is healed enough that I can lift aggressively. I'm about 230 right now, which is 5 pounds heavier than I want to be, but I'm carrying a whole lot more body fat than I'm used to when I'm around 220 to 230. So I'm going to really get back into it. And I challenge you guys, if you listen to this, to start going to the fucking gym. Give yourself 6 months. Go 5 days a week for 6 months. Monday, Tuesday, rest. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rest Sunday. Make sure that your diet is in check. Write down everything that you eat. Write down everything that you are doing in the gym and try to outdo the numbers in the gym every single time. So if you do back on Mondays and you're able to do 3 pull-ups, the following Monday, try to do 4 or 5 or 6 or however many you can get. And every week you start adding more reps or start adding an extra exercise and see what you look like and how you feel in 6 months. I bet you feel and look like a different person. 6 months. It's a long fucking time to stay on a diet and train when you think about it because most people want that instant gratification. But 6 months ago, it was the beginning of the year. Right? So like it really wasn't that fucking long ago when you think about it. All right, back to the email. Sorry about the rant. Moving from job to job, even moving in with friends at the time, trying to feel like I was bettering my life, but nothing ever helped. I've spent my time since then jumping from job to job and house to house, trying to find somewhere that felt like home, all to no avail. You need to create your own. All while wanting to just end it all and be done, but being too cowardly to do it because I don't want to hurt the few people that care about me. I fucking get that, dude. Oh my God, do I get that. I've lost friends to suicide too much and don't want to put my family through that. Yep. Around the beginning of 2020, I had managed to find my best friend from 3rd through 5th grade on Facebook and found out that after I left, he moved out of the state and had just moved back. We started chatting and occasionally hanging out, and I finally felt like I had a true friend, even though we didn't spend a lot of time around each other. That's what friendship is. As the years went by, we hung out from time to time, and in August of 2023, I had told him I was trying to get out of the trailer I lived in and the town I graduated in. He pointed out that the house next to him had been empty for some time and that he knew the owners. Okay, I love where this is going. I fucking love where this is going. He arranged for me to meet them, and we worked things out to where I now rent the house from them. I was a little quick to jump on the opportunity to finally have a house and a garage that I could keep my Harley in, and soon found out that I was not in the right financial situation to be doing so. Okay, I don't like that. I do like that you moved in next door to your best friend, and I love that your Harley's not sitting outside. I'm actually getting ready to buy a Street Glide. Yep, probably in the next 2 weeks. I want to touch on this, dude. This friendship thing. After I left, we didn't spend a lot of time around each other. I finally felt like I had a true friend, even though we didn't spend a lot of time around each other. This idea that your friends are the people that you're around 24/7 is not necessarily true. Some of the people that care about me the most, I very rarely ever see. I've had 2 people reach out to me since being sick, like legit reach out and be like, yo, I hope you're feeling better. And they're people that are internet friends. Like I have only met one of them once, and the other one I hang out with every time they're in town, and I do love them. They're very close to me, but like the idea that you have to be around people 24/7 for them to be your friend is not the case. If you go 6 months without seeing somebody and you run into them and you have a conversation and it felt like yesterday, and the conversation just picks back up and life goes like a normal, like everything is good, that's what friendship is supposed to look like. You should be able to take time away from your people and them get it. Because of this, I worked every minute I could at my job till I found what seemed to be a better job. Stressed out and depressed because I can't afford to do anything, I began drinking heavily again and could not be at home without drinking. In January of 2024, I was out for a drive trying to clear my head and slid on ice and hit a tree, totaling my car and inadvertently losing my job because I used it for work driving people to their appointments. This caused me to go back to trucking, where I found a local agribusiness that brought me on, but at a much lower wage than I could afford. For the past 4 months, I have been working on my life. I've been working my life away, struggling and being so depressed that every day I wake up, sit on the edge of the bed, stare at my pistol sitting on the nightstand, and every day I think, is today going to be the day that I end it all? Some days it goes as far as to having it in my hand, trying to find some reason not to use it. Each day is harder than the last, and I have felt like it wouldn't be much longer before I run out of reasons to stay. You have to be your reason, bro. You have to be your own fucking reason. If your reason is you don't want to do this to your friends and you don't want the people that you love to suffer because you do something like this, that is only going to last for so long until finally your pain is too much and you don't care about that anymore either. Your reason to stay needs to be you. You should be looking for another job while working. Spend that time looking at, to do anything. Part-time job, start door dashing, whatever you've got to do versus sitting at home and drinking. If you've got time to sit at home and get drunk, you've got time for a second job. Even if that's 2 hours a night door dashing fucking Taco Bell to stoners, you have an opportunity to make more money. And while you're doing this, you should be looking for another job and start leveling up. If you're a truck driver and you have the ability to drive big truck, why not look into owning your own business or buying a fifth wheel and transporting cars or doing something where you get to be your own boss and you get to write your own wages instead of collecting a paycheck from somebody else. I hope that you're checking in with your best friend that lives next door too, because you have somebody now. On Tuesday, May 28th, 2024, my day began like normal. I woke up, stared at my pistol, convinced myself not to use it, got up and went to work. At my job, I loaded the truck, drove to my first field, and began my day of sitting in the truck waiting to load the sprayer that is applying pesticides to the crop. I could feel my depression winning and was fighting back tears like every day and had decided that night I was going to get it done. I was going to go home after work, grab my gun, drive to the middle of nowhere, and end it all. What is it with men not wanting to do this in our homes? Every time that I've almost ended myself, it's always been on a dead end road somewhere by myself in my car. And I don't know if it's because I don't want, somebody to find me and have to clean it up. I don't know if it's because I don't want somebody else to have to deal with the biomedical waste bill that's going to come from my brain matter being on everything. But I that's my existence. Every time I've ever been to the point of almost ending myself, other than once, it's been in my car. I relate to that. While waiting to finish the day and get to go home, I was scrolling through TikTok like always and found one of your clips for the Voice of the Broken podcast. It hit me in a way that nothing ever has, so I went to YouTube and found your podcast. I watched every episode that was posted. While watching, I was constantly fighting back tears, finally feeling like I'm not alone, realizing that I'm not the only one struggling. I'm not the only one going through something like this. I'm not the only one who thinks about ending the suffering and the pain. Realizing that I can get through this and I can make things better and that my life will get better. After I watched The Voice of the Broken, I went to the To Be Better podcast and started watching it. I still struggle. I still fight with the depression, but I now know I can get through this and in time things will be better. I no longer wake up wanting to end it. I wake up every day thankful that I woke up. I have started trying to find the light in my day. That's it, brother. Put some fucking gratitude in your attitude. It's going to be a shirt for the To Be Better website when the website gets built. Put some gratitude in your attitude. You can look at everything in life as a problem or an opportunity. And when everything is a fucking problem, you're going to treat it like it's a problem. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a headache. It's going to be a fucking problem. If you treat it like an opportunity, like your job right now, you're not making the money that you could be making, but you have a fucking job. So you at least have a launching pad to find another job that pays more instead of living in your fucking vehicle with no job. So it really does come down to the way that you view your reality. Find that silver lining, bro. I have also found a different job that I'll be starting in July that'll keep me rolling down the road instead of sitting on the side of it. There you go. Thanks to the To Be Better podcast, I have realized how amazing the woman I started dating a couple weeks ago is, and I look forward to seeing where things go from here. There will be hard days, but I know that that with this newfound hope, I can find the good things and hold on to them, that I will make it through this. I hope that you found the courting questionnaire on our website and reached and downloaded it and actually went out and talked to this woman about your future. And I really fucking hope that you don't bring your depression and your baggage to your relationship, because she doesn't deserve that. So if you're starting this clean slate and you're really moving forward on a path of you fucking got this, you have to leave that shit behind. And there's going to be so many people who are going to be like, you can't just fucking choose to leave the shit behind. Mental illness is real. Mental health struggles is real, blah, blah, blah. It is a fucking choice. It's a choice. You've chosen not to put that fucking pistol in your mouth every day. That's a choice. You're here still because of the choices that you've made. You're now dating a woman because of the choice that you've made. You found the podcast and you're taking steps to improve your life. Those are choices that you're making. You always have a fucking choice. And if you want to have a better life, you have to get up and fucking get it, dude. I don't know what you're doing in July. I'm hoping that it's still more trucking shit, but it's an opportunity for growth for you. I also hope that you have joined the Discord for the Voice of the Broken. If you guys want that Discord link, it's not posted publicly. You have to email me at tobebetterco@gmail.com. I need to verify that you're a man. And then I'll send you a link that you can get into that Discord with, so that you can have conversations with other men, especially when you're struggling. Do the fucking work, dude. If you think this woman is that amazing, I really hope that you are going to do the things necessary to fucking be the gentleman that a good woman deserves to have. I want to thank you both from the bottom of my heart. I can honestly say that you saved my life and gave me a newfound look on things. I have only made it to episode 5 on the To Be Better podcast, but I'm going to continue listening, and I'm going to continue watching the Voice of the Broken podcast as well. Thank you so much. You both are forever in my thoughts. Dude, I'm fucking glad that we're helping you. We get emails like this a lot. before Voice of the Broken. We get a lot of emails from people who say that our podcast has actually saved their life. And when I say that, it sounds fucking crazy to me because I'm not doing anything other than giving my opinion on how to have a better life, like how to be a better man, how to have a better relationship with your person. Peaches is doing the same thing. She's trying to get women to be in their divine feminine again, while we are working on being in what a good masculine man is supposed to be. It's so fucking crazy to hear people say that we're saving their lives. I'm just trying to give people hope. I'm trying to let people realize that your life is what you make it. I know that there's a very negative, a very negative belief system now that you'll never be able to own your own home, and you'll never be able to live off minimum wage and all of this fucking hateful nonsense, instead of going, okay, this is what you have. These are the skills that you have. How do we take the next step to make you more money so that you can buy a house, so that you can do more? Like if you're a truck driver and you've got a CDL and you can drive semi trucks, what is the next step for you? What would it look like for you to open your own business? If you've got a good woman here in the next 2 years, let's say you get married and she's able to handle the administrative side of a business and you're able to drive and she's able to fucking create routes for you and you're able to long haul shit. Like there's good money in that. You have opportunities to do shit, but you got to do the fucking work. You can't sit around and wait on it to happen, because life doesn't happen to you. Life happens. And if you want to have a good life, you have to fucking make it happen. I truly believe that this podcast is going to hit people in emotional ways, right? I've almost cried on every one of these. This one even got me a minute ago, but like, I honestly believe that we are in a position where we are going to be able to really let men know that like what you're going through is fucking normal. We have all gone through this at some point in our lives. The difference is some of us have mentors and people around us that love us, that can pick us up when we fall, and others don't. And that's where the Voice of the Broken comes in. If you don't have mentors and you don't have people to pick you up when you fall, we have a community for that. We've created the Voice of the Broken Discord. I have a men's group in Patreon from To Be Better that's a public men's group. I have a private men's group. It's $115 a month, and you can get into the fucking private men's group, and we have round table discussions twice a month. We're working on calls. We break things down quarterly and then break those quarters down into thirds. And everything is themed, and we're trying to help people level. I have people in there that I'm mentoring that are business owners now that are reclaiming their relationship with their wives. Like, we are really trying to create a community of men for men to grow. We are constantly being told that it's not okay to be a man, that women would rather pick a grizzly bear that could literally rip their fucking face off than to be alone in the woods with us. We're told we're the enemies. And yet women will still try to pursue a relationship with a man, even though we're predators and we are the fucking enemy. I don't like where things are. I don't like what it's doing to what it is. Or I don't like what it's doing to men, or downplaying what it is to be a man. I think there's a difference between being a male and being a man, but that's a topic for another discussion. I don't know, guys. I hope that you guys got something from this. I'm now feeling worse than when I sat down, so I'm going to call it a day and not work for the rest of the day and go home, and hopefully tomorrow I feel good enough to film episode 9 and 10. I do think that this is going to go past episode 10. As of right now, it's really looking that way, which I'm super fucking grateful for, because I am being fulfilled in this. So just to kind of recap real quick, guys, there is a Discord for Voice of the Broken. It's private. You can email me for it, tobebetterco@gmail.com. If you deal with depression, get your blood panels done. If you're a man specifically, our testosterone is 3 times lower than what our grandparents were. The average scale has now went from, when I started getting my testosterone checked, 3 to 1200. In some cases, it goes all the way down to 150 as low. They're lowering the numbers to make up for the fact that our testosterone is fucked up. We are not the men we once were, and we have an opportunity to correct that. So matrixhormones.com, fill out the new question, or the new patient release form. And then on the drop down, say that To Be Better sent you. It will save you $200 on your consultation. Best case scenario, you don't need it. Worst case scenario, you do, but you figure out what the fucking problem is. And I think it's something that every man should do. And ladies, I believe you should do it too. There are things that can be found through blood work. And lastly, guys, subscribe to the channel. If you are listening to this on Spreaker or Spotify, please go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on TikTok. I am trying to build both of those channels. Eventually, I believe that tobebetter.com will have its own Voice of the Broken segment as well as the garden segment, because Peaches is about to start doing this shit too for women. We have a whole lot of fucking dope things in the works right now, guys. And I am very blessed to be able to be doing what I'm doing. So please continue to send the emails, be as detailed as you can. If before you send it, reread it. And if you think there's something that you can elaborate on, take the extra 15 minutes and type it out. Let's tell your stories. Let's get it out there. Let's start fucking helping people. Let's be there for people who don't have anybody that can be there for them. We'll see you guys on the next one.